Someone across the room opens their mouth wide, stretches their jaw, closes their eyes for a second, and before you even notice what's happening, your own jaw is already following. You didn't choose that. Nobody asked your permission. But the real reason your body copies a stranger's yawn without asking is far stranger than simple boredom or tiredness. Because contagious yawning isn't really about being tired at all. It's about something your brain has been quietly tracking about the people around you this entire time. So why does a yawn spread from one person to another like it has a mind of its own? Start with a strange fact most people never think to question. Yawning itself is ancient, far older than humans, found in fish, birds, reptiles, and virtually every mammal studied. But contagious yawning, catching a yawn just from watching someone else do it, is a completely different phenomenon, and it's remarkably rare across the animal kingdom. Researchers studying this have found contagious yawning reliably in only a small number of species: humans, chimpanzees, some other primates, and surprisingly, dogs. Not fish, not reptiles, not most mammals at all. Even within primates, the pattern is uneven. Some monkey species show little to no contagious yawning at all, while chimpanzees, bonobos, and humans show it readily. This unevenness is itself a clue. If contagious yawning were simply an automatic side effect of watching a wide mouth movement, you'd expect it scattered randomly across the animal kingdom wherever vision is good enough to notice the gesture. Instead, it clusters tightly around species known for complex social structures, cooperative living, and recognizing the emotional states of others. That short list should make you pause for a second. What do humans, chimpanzees, and dogs actually have in common that a lizard or a fish doesn't? The answer, according to a growing body of research, is social bonding. Psychologist Elizabeth Cerulli and later researchers, including Matthew Campbell at Emory University, began investigating whether contagious yawning might be linked to empathy, the capacity to recognize and share the emotional state of another individual. Their studies found something striking. People who scored higher on empathy assessments were significantly more likely to catch a yawn after watching someone else do it. People with conditions associated with reduced social emotional processing showed noticeably lower rates of contagious yawning, even though their own spontaneous yawning, the kind triggered by tiredness, remained completely normal. This detail matters enormously. It wasn't that these individuals couldn't yawn. It was specifically the contagious, socially triggered version that seemed to require something extra, some deeper neural machinery tuned specifically to other people's states. Researchers studying brain activity during contagious yawning have consistently found involvement of what's sometimes called the mirror neuron system, a network of brain regions that activate both when you perform an action yourself and when you simply watch someone else perform it. The same regions that light up when you personally yawn also activate when you merely observe another person yawning, essentially rehearsing their action inside your own brain before your body ever catches up. Think about what that actually means. Somewhere in your brain, watching someone yawn and yawning yourself aren't entirely separate experiences. They're partially the same neural event, just triggered from a different direction. Some researchers have gone further, using brain imaging to show that people who resist the urge to yawn after seeing someone else do it still show measurable activity in these same mirror-related regions, even when they successfully suppress the outward action. The urge fires whether or not you let it show on your face. What you experience as an awkward, half-hidden yawn in a meeting is really just the visible tip of a neural process that already ran to completion beneath the surface, whether your mouth cooperated or not. This connects to something researchers have found about who you're most likely to catch a yawn from. A landmark study led by researcher Ivan Norshia found that people were significantly more likely to catch a yawn from family members and close friends than from acquaintances, and more likely to catch it from acquaintances than from complete strangers. The effect followed a clear social gradient. Closer relationships produced stronger contagion, weaker relationships produced weaker contagion. This is a genuinely strange finding if you think contagious yawning is purely about visual mimicry. If it were simply your eyes copying a mouth movement, distance and relationship shouldn't matter at all. But it did matter, dramatically. Your brain wasn't just registering a yawn. It was weighing who was doing the yawning. So what would explain a system this socially selective? The leading evolutionary theory reframes contagious yawning entirely. Rather than a meaningless reflex, Researchers propose it may have functioned as a synchronization signal within ancient social groups. Picture an early human band settling in for rest. One member yawns, signaling fatigue, a drop in alertness, a shift toward rest. If that signal spread rapidly through the group via contagious yawning, it could have helped synchronize the entire band's rest and wakefulness cycles, ensuring the group transitioned toward sleep or back toward alertness, together rather than scattered across mismatched schedules. A group that rested and woke in sync had more overlapping hours of shared vigilance, meaning fewer vulnerable windows where only one or two members were alert enough to notice danger approaching. Under this theory, contagious yawning was never really about the yawn itself. It was a primitive broadcast system for group state, something closer to a shared alarm clock running entirely on unconscious mimicry. Consider how vulnerable a resting group actually was in the ancient world. Predators didn't announce themselves. A band scattered across mismatched sleep and wake cycles, some drowsy while others remained fully alert, created exactly the kind of uneven vigilance a predator or rival group could exploit. A few unguarded moments where the group's collective attention had gaps. A signal that pulled everyone toward the same state at roughly the same time. Whether that state was rest or renewed alertness, closed those gaps without requiring anyone to consciously coordinate anything. Nobody needed to announce, "Let's all rest now." The yawn did it for them, silently, automatically, faster than language ever could. This would also explain why closeness matters so much. Ancient survival depended heavily on your immediate group, the people you shared shelter, food, and watch duty with. Syncing rest cycles with close kin and allies carried real survival value. Syncing with a random stranger passing through territory did not. A brain tuned to respond more strongly to yawns from familiar, trusted individuals would have been directing this synchronization signal exactly where it mattered most. There's another layer worth understanding here, because contagious yawning isn't just tied to empathy in a vague, feel-good sense. Researchers studying dogs found something remarkable. Dogs catch yawns from their human owners far more readily than from unfamiliar people, and this effect appears to strengthen the longer a dog has lived with that specific person. Some researchers interpret this as evidence that contagious yawning may function as a genuine cross-species empathy signal, one that dogs evolved sensitivity to specifically because of their unusually close cooperative relationship with humans over tens of thousands of years of domestication. If a dog can catch your yawn because of how closely bonded you are, that tells you this mechanism runs deeper than simple visual copying. It's tracking relationship, not just movement. Some researchers have even tested whether dogs catch yawns more readily, depending on how securely attached they are to their owner, using something similar to attachment assessments originally developed for studying human infants and caregivers. The findings suggest a dog's contagious yawning response scales with the strength and security of that specific bond, not simply with how much time the two have spent physically near each other. This makes the ancient synchronization theory even more compelling. If this mechanism can bridge two entirely different species purely on the basis of emotional closeness, it strongly suggests bonding, not biology alone, is doing the real work. Now here's where the story takes its counterintuitive turn. If contagious yawning evolved as a synchronization tool for small, tightly bonded ancestral groups, modern life has placed that same ancient mechanism into an environment it was never designed for. You now spend your days surrounded by video calls, crowded trains, open-plan offices, and social media feeds packed with strangers, far beyond the handful of close kin your ancestors would have interacted with daily. Your contagious yawning system still fires in response to all of it, video calls included. Researchers have confirmed people catch yawns even from watching recorded video of someone yawning, despite there being no actual social relationship, no shared danger, and no synchronized rest cycle to protect. The signal is firing constantly now, largely disconnected from the specific evolutionary purpose it was built for. Think about how often this happens in a single day. A stranger yawns on the subway platform and half the row catches it within seconds, despite nobody exchanging a single word or even a glance of recognition. A presenter on a live stream yawns mid-sentence, and viewers scattered across different time zones, different continents, different households entirely, feel their own jaws responding in near unison to a face on a screen. None of these people share shelter. None of them share watch duty against a predator. The ancient signal doesn't check credentials before firing. It simply responds to the pattern it evolved to detect, whether or not that pattern still means what it once meant. There's something almost poetic hidden inside this mismatch. A mechanism built by evolution to quietly bind a small band of people together, to synchronize their rest, their vigilance, their vulnerability to danger as one unified group, is now triggered dozens of times a day by video calls with people you've never met and strangers on public transportation you'll never speak to. This reframes something you've probably experienced without ever questioning it. That slightly embarrassing moment when you catch someone's yawn in a meeting and feel compelled to hide. It isn't a random glitch or a sign of poor discipline. It's an ancient social bonding signal, quietly firing exactly as designed, simply pointed at a world it was never built to operate inside. Maybe that reframes the moment slightly. The next time you feel that pulse spreading through your jaw in a crowded room, it isn't your body betraying you or announcing that you're bored of the conversation. It's a small, ancient piece of machinery doing exactly what it has always done, reaching out across the space between two people and trying, in the oldest language it knows, to bring you briefly into sync with someone else. Someone across the room opens their mouth wide, stretches their jaw, closes their eyes for a second, and your own jaw follows, not because you're tired, not because you're bored, but because somewhere deep in your evolutionary wiring, a piece of ancient social machinery just quietly registered another person's state and, without asking your permission, decided the two of you should share it.